close
Yeah,
the
go
door.
ahead and close it. There's wood to be chopped up there, apparently.
Okay.
Alright, and then we...
And then I gotta click around here. So
Okay,
go ahead
cool.
and say hello while I
Okay.
click into the places. Hello.
Hello. I
Oh
am
boy.
glad that worked. We were just trying to come to you guys live at 3 o'clock and had some weirdness, of course. It seems to always follow us whenever we try to go live, especially because we are going live from 3 different devices because we were having difficulty getting Streamlabs to connect to all of the platforms. So it's kind of weird. There's 3 like cameras. Anyway, so I guess I'll just kind of start it over, right? Would make the most sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome. If you are watching this, we are so thrilled that you guys are here. If you are, if you've been with us from before, welcome back. We are so glad that you've hung out and you've stayed and you've been a part of our journey, and we're so excited to share in more depth of what that means and what it's meant for us, as well as if you are new, welcome. Thank you for joining. I am Lyra Moon, and this is my wonderful girlfriend, partner in crime, Lynx Vega, and a little bit about what we're so excited to see happen. Well, we have huge news, first off, for you guys about our journeys, as well as what this is eventually going to become. This is going to be the first live of many, many, many lives, and we cannot wait to give you more information and more news in regards to what that's going to look like, especially over the next coming weeks. So we'll talk about that more towards the end of this segment. This segment is mostly going to be focused on who we are, getting reacquainted with you guys out there, and discussing our journeys, what we've gone through, what we've experienced, what we've, where we've been, and how you doing?
That cup is like huge.
Dead shot.
Yeah.
Got it.
I'm like, that cup.
That
That cup though.
That cup action.
Okay, there we go. Okay, we're good now.
All right, are we on all 3?
We are on all 3.
Sweet. Well done.
We did it. Oh my goodness.
Good job.
Woo! Hi everybody.
Oh, what a relief.
Look at that. Look at, there we are.
There we are.
And there we
People,
are. And there we are.
people.
Look at that.
Well done. That was
Weird.
That was weird. All right. Well, introduce yourself.
My name is Lynx Vega. And what do I do? I do tech, and I help. We're gonna talk about some actual serious things today. I'm excited, but right now I need to pull up something else.
Mm-hmm.
So you keep going.
All right. Well,
caught me off guard there. I wasn't ready.
All right, you. It's all good. Go ahead and grab that.
Mm.
Cause
Keep talking.
I'm going simply bossing you around on this thing. All right, so today we're going to be jumping into, like I was saying, about who we are, where we've been, what we've been going through, not necessarily talking about the nitty-gritty of the exact experiences, but the overarching themes of our experiences, and we're also going to discuss how we got through those experiences, what we learned, what we gained from our insights, and where we're going next. So there's a lot of big news coming, and with that, do you want to do a greeting?
Sure. I'll do a greeting.
Do a greeting.
Sure. I'll do a greeting.
And you're also not in frame.
Hang on then. Hang on. Frame me enough. Frame me enough. But I hope we're still in frame with the other ones.
You should be. We should be more in frame than the other ones, I would imagine.
Alright. I'm still finishing pulling this thing up here, and then we should be good to go.
So for all of you guys out there who are watching, we'd love to know who is out there. And when we get to the comments, we'll start tackling, what some of your experiences have been, especially aligning with recent astrology and what we've been dealing with from last month and from this month. Just a total night and day change, but it came with a lot of real intense having to look at self in like ways that, oh my gosh, so many of us included, we're not fully expecting to have to deal with. Having to deal with really looking at the more harder aspects of your shadow side and having to be like totally cool with that, figuring out what that meant. And that's been an interesting journey. So we're looking forward to jumping further in, and we'd love to hear what your experiences are as well with the last solar eclipse in Aries on the 8th with the new moon, what you guys experienced, where you were in the world when you saw it, and how you've been doing since then. If you care to join, we'd love to bring out more experiences and talk as more of a community. So how are you doing?
I think I'm good.
Good.
Grace says, let's try it again. Hello.
Hey Grace,
She's so
glad you're here.
lovely.
Thank you. Glad that you're here with us. Grace is our friend from Australia.
And we're good to go. All right.
Great.
Are you ready? Well,
Yes.
just want to start out by saying we're so grateful that you're here. So grateful. Very excited to be.
You're just not in.
I'm
you
in
can't
frame
see me.
enough. I gotta be in the frame for the other shots.
Okay, but you want to see a pretty face in the middle a little bit more. That's all. So pretty.
You're silly. All right. So today, shall we get into it? The next thing says we need
What
to
about
talk
you?
about our about me. Okay.
Intro.
Okay. Okay. I'm Lynx Vega. I've been studying tarot on and off now for about 3-ish years.
Mm-hmm.
Recently we've just been trying to figure out ways to kind of pick it apart a little bit more and try to figure out how we can change things up a little bit. So I'm really excited because this has been a long time coming, and we're just ready to be here.
Absolutely. All right, and with that, you want to go ahead and jump into today's agenda?
All right, so today's agenda is, today we're going to be starting off by talking to you about, this got a little jumbled here with all of the redos here, but we're going to talk about a couple of obstacles that we've had and what has influenced those obstacles, what those have meant for us personally, and what those have meant for us professionally. Kind of keep you guys more into the loop as to where we've been, what's been going on, and why we've been absent, and why we're so excited to be coming back. Then we're going to work through these kind of experiences with you, maybe see if we can teach you a few things about managing some deeper, heavier issues. And then afterwards we're going to talk a little bit about the astrological things that have been going on and how they've affected us, and we really are interested in hearing how it's affected you as well, because once you have some time to really kind of, once someone points out to you like, oh, I was struggling with this at this time, you're like, oh shoot, I was too. And then it kind of makes everything feel a lot better, because you're like, oh, okay, it wasn't completely my fault that XYZ happened, or this situation happened, or I felt this way in this moment. And it becomes a lot more
Manageable.
yeah. And you can have some camaraderie in some of the craziness that happens. After that, we're going to do a Q&A, so any questions that you guys have about anything that we're talking about, or anything about the channel, or anything in general, like, please just ask, and we'd be happy to answer those questions. And finally, we've got some news at the end that we want to share, and that will be for this session.
Sounds good. And then, so we're going to go ahead and start off with something that is pretty cool. We were trying to figure out, all right, what's the best way to convey to you guys like our most recent experiences during this hiatus, where we've been, and what we've gone through, what we've faced, the obstacles that we've encountered, and thought, well, why not? What better way to show you guys than through tarot? So we pulled some cards for ourselves, and we're going to talk about, you know, the challenges that I specifically was facing with the Ace of Swords reversed over the last, like, let's say, month and a half to even longer stints of this in the background. But I would say, you know, obstacles of dealing with a sense of that I couldn't speak my truth, that I couldn't be honest, that I couldn't be genuine to my own voice, feeling like I was in a position that meant I couldn't express how I felt. I couldn't, there wasn't anyone to hear my truth. There wasn't anyone that wanted to listen to it either. So this caused a lot of confusion and a lot of, you know, trying to figure out my clarity, you know, trying to understand my intuition and what it was that I wanted. But that was really confusing because I wasn't picking up on the right signals. There's a sense of always running in a direction that just brought more confusion, and then trying to understand, okay, what's happening? Why is this happening? And until I started to change a couple of things in my life and I started to realize more of how I was creating this situation or making the situation harder for myself, did I finally start to move away from what these obstacles brought me. It was a definite change. I would say a feeling of just not being able to be open or expressive, not being able to just say the things I needed to say. I needed to be able to speak my truth, and I felt like I couldn't, and I felt like it was, you know, very isolating, very disheartening. So those were the obstacles that this specific card brought me. These are the obstacles, the lessons that I was dealing with, you know, as a guide, as a teacher, to find my voice again, to rise back up. And so we're going to talk about her obstacles next, and then we're going to jump into a couple of more aspects of these cards to give you guys more of a broader understanding of how they reflect in our lives, and also what we did to overcome some of this stuff. Because, you know, with all of these lessons, there has to be a breakthrough, and that's what we also want to discuss with you guys today. So what card did you get?
So I pulled the Hierophant reversed,
Mm-hmm.
and immediately when that card came up, that one totally made sense for me. For me, this card is about breaking down structures. In general, the card is about breaking down structures, things that are considered the standard, the norm, the normal grind, what's expected of you, what is expected in general. And when it becomes a conflict in your life, you need to sometimes break down these constants. The ones that are telling you that you don't matter. And those are the ones that we really have to overcome. And that is part of what the Hierophant is about. It's about seeing things that don't work and breaking them down.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of breakdown in the hiatus, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of breakdown, a lot of introspection, and a lot of questioning a lot of things.
Absolutely.
Structures get put into place because of repetition, you know, and once they become structures of repetition, it repeats itself.
You do love repetition.
I think humanity loves repetition because it feels safe, and that's why we create these constructs of
definitely.
what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because if there's a set guideline of exactly what you're supposed to do and say and all of those things, then you don't need to worry about bad behavior.
You don't need to worry about trying to break out of yourself either.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can always just stay in this conformed status quo because it's been woven to allude to the idea that it's safety. Yeah. exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you've been.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is rebuilding structures, and then looking at like some of what this caused for me emotionally, and like where we've been. Man, I kept pushing in one direction or another, trying to overcome these obstacles, not realizing that realistically it was me just running from myself in a lot of ways, and me having to really look at, you know, even though I'm visually impaired, like even have to look at like where I've been blinding myself. What have I been allowing confusion to kind of spiral into in areas of my life, and having to really look at that over the last several years and really break down some really huge emotional blocks and pain and struggles, which allowed for this newness of like starting to have bigger faith in myself, starting to have, you know, more resilience. These are things that started to manifest as I started to pay more attention to the complete hopelessness feeling that I was feeling every time that I would make a decision and it would end up being wrong. Just kept spiraling into more self-awareness, because even though that you've got more anxiety, and even though that you're feeling like, you know, more depressed, that is still at the same time it's a call for change. Those emotions are going to lead you to a set of different, you know, chemical reactions that create change. Whether it's good or bad, it's how you view it. So for me, it was about understanding that the more that I looked at the pain, the easier it became to get through it. And the more that I started to understand where my wounding was, the easier it became to start to heal that. So it was about, you know, analytics, looking at myself from a different point of view, getting a fresh perspective, because I decided to become more of an observer of my life rather than reacting to everything that just immediately comes, and then, you know, feeling worked up and not having that sense of relief that I've been able to problem solve. Like it was just confusion, more confusion, and then hopelessness. So having to understand how to figure a way through that meant looking at this from a different point of view. So I would highly recommend a book called oh my gosh, is it The Power of Now? It is The Power of Now, right?
I believe so.
I believe, oh my gosh, I'm pretty sure it's The Power of Now, by Eckhart Tolle. And you introduced me to Eckhart Tolle, and he's
very cool.
he is one of the most astounding human beings I think I've ever heard.
Yeah, seriously.
Like listening to him just makes you feel like calm and safe and heard and validated and protected. So I would recommend that if you're on a new spiritual path and you haven't yet picked up this book, check it out. It is incredible. I'm almost certain it's The Power of Now. But if you want to like do yourself like an even better, I mean, there's something about his voice. I tell you what, it's like magic. Listening to him just makes it, for me, the experience was so much more than I think it would have been had I like gone through the other route of reading it.
Do you think The Power of Now is better to read first before even The Sun Will Die? That's another one of his.
Yeah, I would say that one's really good too. If you're just tiptoeing into the waters of who he is and you're just trying to explore, because it's a large concept, but at the same time, it's a totally life-changing concept if you're game. So if you're interested, I'd say probably even The Sun Will Die would be a good place to start. But if you're like full on, let's just do something new, let's try something, you know, and just jump in, Power of Now is amazing. I loved that book.
Okay.
All right, now for you, what emotional...
What is the emotional torment
Mm.
of breaking down structures
Yeah.
feel like? Yeah. So, for my specific breaking down of structures, it was coming to the conclusion that, I guess we'll start here. Internal structures get created in us from childhood. That is something that we all have to like admit
Accept.
and accept
Yeah,
as adults that
absolutely.
there are certain things that are there are certain parts of us. There are certain ways that we see the world, how we react, how we emotionally deal
Respond.
with things, how we respond.
Mhm.
You know, we can all tell ourselves that we've come out pretty good, but there's still always going to be some
Some having to go
some-
back.
I guess maybe you could call it like residue.
Oh my god, yeah, there you go. Emotional residue.
Yeah.
Familiar. No.
Familial. Emotional residue.
Emotional residue.
Or
yeah.
just, you know, and maybe not even, it doesn't even have to be familial. It can even be of past experiences that you had.
Yeah, past karmas, past lives. It could be anything. It's just
even
it's
that
sticky
deep too.
Yeah,
I was just talking about
on the
earlier
surface.
in
I
your
know.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
It's sticky.
Mhm. So the one that I realize that I have the biggest problem with is I really like to be the peacekeeper. I like to be the maintainer of the stability. I like to be the person who sees where conflict could be and just kind of figure out how to smooth it over as quickly as possible, while, you know, avoiding hurting anyone's feelings and just, you know, trying to maintain a balance. And that is an inherent part of who I am. That's how I have gone my entire life, thinking that as long as I am working really hard to maintain the stability of the relationships of the people around me and the all of the plates that I have spinning in the air at once, as long as all of that is good and spinning and happy, then I have been successful. That to me is like has been the pattern of, yes, I did it, I'm awesome, everything is spinning, everybody is happy, everybody's smiling, you know, I have done everything in my power to make sure that everybody is good. And what happens is, after a lifetime of doing that, you get older and you realize that every single time that you keep spinning a plate that shouldn't necessarily be spinning, every time you keep spinning it, you're losing a piece of yourself. Every time that you say yes to something that you know you want to say no to because you're trying to appease everybody, every single time that you are uncomfortable with something but you pretend that you aren't because you have to have either, you know, a stiff upper lip, or you have to be a lady, or or you have to, you know, we slowly.
You have to be a grown up.
You have to be a grown up. We conform ourselves to all of these things that we need to conform to, and, you know, don't get me wrong, being agreeable and trying your best to maintain order around you is good and is healthy. But there is a certain point where it is no longer healthy, because if you continue to contort yourself over and over and over again for the benefit of everyone else, fast forward and suddenly you're asking yourself, who am I? I've changed ever so slightly a little bit for everyone around me over and over again, just a little tweak here or there, just to make everything extra harmonious, and just to not hurt anyone's feelings, and just to not step on anyone's toes ever. And suddenly you realize that you've done that so many times over and over and over again, like it's just like chipping away at
every time
at who you are. And then suddenly you start looking at yourself and you're like, who am I? What? I don't even know what I want anymore, because my entire focus is on making sure everybody else is good. Everybody else is happy and doing fine and at their peak awesomeness. And that can be that the most insidious thing about that one is you don't know how deep you're in that one until you
become aware to it.
And and you don't become aware to it until you
usually has
till you-
sacrificed a significant
Yes.
amount of self
exactly.
in the piggy bank of like the relationship with that person.
Mhm.
And you think that it's a proper exchange and that you're giving and receiving is like balanced, and then when suddenly you don't, and suddenly you see it for what it really is, it totally changes your entire world. And then it makes you, feel lost, confused. What do you do now? What are you supposed to, where are you supposed to go? How do you rebuild a structure when you just realize that the structure in the imaginary piggy bank of this relationship that you've been pouring money into is one-sided, and the other person doesn't even know it exists? That is a heck of a shift.
Mm-hmm.
So then we look at we look at the well, that kind of just brings us to my next card, which is the Six of Coins. This one was for resilience, right? Okay, so when we're talking about this card, it's literally what we're just going over. And this happens to also be, by the way, the energy that I pulled for several of my clients, specifically this week. So, and in my readings, my pick a card and a couple of my other recorded readings, I think like last night or the night before last, were heavily to do with this specific card. So you guys out there, let me know if you guys are feeling this. I want to know how this might relate to you. Six of Pentacles right now, very intense, very strong to say that this has everything to do with how we give and receive our time. If we're giving too much of our energy, or we're not giving enough of our energy to a situation, all of this is kind of being brought to the surface right now. If we're giving too much of our energy and we're killing ourselves in either a relationship or personal lives and work, and we're just now seeing this, it's about now at this point of like having to realize, oh my gosh, I have boundaries I have to put down. I have borders. I have to start putting money back into myself if myself needs it, or I need to start putting energy, money back into the relationships and work that I have been maybe missing out on. So it's figuring out where these imaginary, like, energetic coins that only you have can go. Where do they need to go most right now? Like, what is most important? And for me, that really meant I had to deeply assess my values too. I had to figure out, okay, what does this all mean? What is it that I want? I will tell you this. We have been dreaming about creating this specific type of segment, this specific type of channel. What we're going to be bringing to you over the next couple of weeks has been something that we have been working on and trying to hone in and create for several years now. And that's been one major aspect of this, is just not having all of the pieces together, not having a set kind of understanding of what is most important. So that has a lot to do with, figuring out, sitting down with self and really being honest and being like, all right, where do I need more value? Where do I need to showcase more value for myself? Where do I need to make, maybe have I been spending too much time, like, on this person that maybe doesn't value me the same way, or have I been putting too much energy into a project that just isn't making me happy, or it needs to change? How do I change it? What do I do? So there's all this, figuring out of balance, figuring out of what makes you happy, so that you can get to a point of figuring out how to bring balance into your life. And it really comes down to, and I've recommended this for so many of my clients, to take time to write down a values list of the things in your life that are most valuable in each category of your life. Take the time to do this. So when we're talking about resilience, we're talking about what did we do to overcome these challenges. And for us, I wrote down a values list. I made a list for myself of all the things in each section of my life that I cared about most, that were most important to me. I did it for work. We sat down and we did it together, and we did it for our relationship, and we did it for our future and our future goals together, of what we want to see happen, as well as what we want for ourselves, in the future. So when you take the time to write this list out, and then you can kind of compare it against different situations and different energies that you have come in and out of your life, then it does really help to give you a balanced perspective on what needs to stay and what needs to go. So that was one thing that really helped. Journaling was also really helpful, to start, hearing my voice again, to start using my voice again, to start allowing creativity to happen. And actually, one of the best pieces of advice that I got from a client of ours was that the quickest way, if you have any like childhood issues, childhood neglect, or any abuse, or anything that happened in your childhood that was rough, or anything just in general that's really been emotionally devastating and hurt your heart, then one of the best things that you can do for yourself is play, is go out and play. Bring back the moments of your childhood that you may not have gotten to have. So we've been playing board games. We've been having a good time. We've been acting a lot more. We've been doing a lot of different pretending and acting exercises with our son, and we've been having a really fun time just like exploring the most insane places with him, which has really also brought out this new kind of energy of, feeling more connected with what's real, going back to what feels good. So if you've been having any issues with emotionality or childhood issues, play as though no one else is watching, because it's all about how you feel in the moment. And it felt great, so kept bringing that out. That allowed for more truth. And just the observation element, I would say, is probably one of the biggest tools that I use to get through, and am still working on getting through the challenges that the solar eclipse brought, which was, where I didn't have clarity in my life. And that is really challenging when you are both visually impaired and you're like totally confused about what direction you want to head into. It's like, okay, I'm completely blind right now. I have no idea what direction to head into, but I have to start moving somewhere. So, I would say that those were some really strong techniques for me that really helped kind of build my resilience and my just determination to not allow the confusion to kind of get to a place where it would be a negative for me either. I just started to view it as a teacher. So then I would look to what the silver lining was instead of focusing on the negative. And that really helped me better understand the next tasks instead of getting hung up in the emotionality of it. Because it's all about sometimes needing to use your emotions, but other times, more often than not, it's about using your logic in given situations. And it was much more helpful to use that dynamic, logical energy than it was to, get sucked into the emotionality, reactivity of whatever was coming. So those are some techniques that I use to get out of this sticky situation, figuring out how to energetically use the piggy bank of, where energy needs to go and where it needs to come back in. So I'm still trying to figure that out, and wonder if you guys are too. If anyone is realizing or feeling, if you connect at all with the idea of an energetic piggy bank, if you've been having to kind of realize checks and balances lately, as we are in Taurus, so it has everything to do with the foundation of things, with our values, with what's most important, with finances and career, big focus on money, and totally makes you feel like a cow sometimes, because Venus loves to graze. Oh my God. Taurus ruled by Venus. I'm a Libra, ruled by Venus too, and she likes her food. She likes her late night snacks. It's just...
cosmically unfair.
It's cosmically unfair. So, what about you, my love?
Well, I just want to check in with the comments real quick.
Yeah, comments. Where are we at?
Carlos is here.
Hey, Carlos. I'm glad you're here.
Dude. Sweet.
Sweet.
We got a couple of people saying hi. And then, And then Danielle was sharing something that I told her would be fantastic that we'd love to talk about during the Q&A.
Oh, beautiful.
So I just wanted to check in.
Okay, great.
Let everybody know that we're keeping an eyeball out on the comments, and if you have things to say, please say them. We're trying to make this as interactive as possible. We wanna interact with you. We wanna know what you're thinking. We wanna play with some concepts.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be fun.
We want to talk about some what do they call it? They call it hot tea. Hot tea, isn't that details? The deets?
Isn't that spilled tea?
The spilled tea?
I don't know. Is it
Oh my
hot
gosh,
tea?
is it hot? I don't know.
Hot and spilled
Hot
tea.
spilled tea. We want to talk about some. What was that news that we called it? It was sweet news. Okay, so hot sweet tea. We want to tell you about it. All right, so let's talk about your resilience, my dear.
All right. So breaking down structures comes with accepting, unfortunately, the consequences, especially if you've created an artificially harmonious world.
Yeah. Pause on that for a second. Just like think about that for a minute.
Because this is not something that you can just casually do, like, you know, I'm gonna go to the gym 3 times a week and I'm just gonna slowly get better. I'm gonna look better. I'm gonna feel better. But there's no slow inching into this. There's no
It's like a switch.
It's you decide to do this, and there will be some consequences because these structures are false.
Mm-hmm.
So the very first thing is it's a huge exercise in resilience, because when you start standing up for yourself and you start actually saying the things that you need to say, and you actually start
Looking at the people again.
looking at people around you and their reactions
Mm-hmm.
to you now saying the things that you need to say. You know, you're not just a 100% go with the flow anymore, because you've reached a point where the flow is not flowing in the direction you want to flow.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly now you
Needing to place boundaries.
You're needing to place boundaries, and to everyone else, now suddenly you've got a wild hair up your rear.
Mm-hmm.
Now suddenly I don't know why you're acting like this. You know, you've never had any problems before, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh great, so I'm glad I've lowered the bar so far that even if I say something that's even neutral,
Mm-hmm.
or
Slight boundary that we're putting down, or a slight step in the direction of a boundary,
then suddenly you're the jerk.
Mm-hmm.
You need to, like, you know, get your stuff together, and maybe, you know, and you need to accept that all of these things are going to happen. If this is the construct that you're fighting to break, you need to know that that's going to happen. And that is, I think the best thing about breaking down structures is it comes with a bonus lesson. Bonus lesson of acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
Bonus lesson of acceptance means
Getting to put the value where you want it to go.
yeah. The way that you get to the bottom of it is by trying to figure out your own value, because every single time that you've bent and you've created imbalanced relationships because you've tried to force it balanced, underneath it's still imbalanced, just because you're standing over on one side lifting up the
other
scales,
person's weight.
you know, like
Yeah.
it still looks like, you know, bad scales. It still would look like this if you weren't standing up here holding all of this up.
Mm-hmm.
So this side is always looking like this.
Mm-hmm.
And when you let that go, the imbalance forms. And it becomes very up in front in your face. And that's when you have to realize, okay, That's when you start to question, actually. That's when you start to question, oh my gosh, is this even worth it?
Mm-hmm.
This is the whole reason why I put up this whole charade anyways, because I'm avoiding this. This is why I've done it. This is like why I've been protecting myself from this. But that's when the real question comes in. Why is everyone else's stability, why is everybody else's cool summer, smooth sailing waves, why is their tranquility worth more than yours?
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, not to be confused with, we all have to make, like little things here and there to make sure that everybody is okay and good. But when
it crosses the lines of your
crosses
values,
yeah.
Eventually you get just push to this point where you have to say something, where there has to be a change, where there has to be a reevaluation of, wait, where have I been putting all of my coins at? And do I have anything left for me in that bank of mine? Oh my god, it's totally empty. Crap. And I had to go chase down these people, these situations, this thing, and get my coins back? Bart, I don't have a clue how to do that. I don't have a clue. How do I do that? And then it's it's that checks and minuses. It's deciding where your resilience is. It's deciding where your value in yourself is, and starting to put boundaries down of what you will and won't accept, what you are okay with, and what you feel is too much, and then having to systematically make shifts in your relationship to bring forth better harmony and balance. And that means that some of the people that you've locked into those wheels, those plates that were spinning, those are going to crack and fall, and there's nothing that you can do to change that, because you can't change them, but you're changing, and that's no longer okay with who they are. So it's definitely challenging. So when we look at all of these as a whole, these are the things that we've been kind of experiencing long term over the hiatus. I would say definitely coming into its strongest, with the astrology that we were experiencing last month. So let's talk about the astrology a little bit. And when we're diving into that, I'm pretty sure we're all, for the most part, aware of the solar eclipse that we experienced on the 8th of April, and the new moon in Aries, Mercury retrograde. Oh my gosh, it was all just hitting boom, 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 one thing after the other. And when you have a total solar eclipse, the actual great reset of that, and what it really means is just, it's chaos. Then you have, it means that you're going to have everything that was hidden, everything that's been hidden from you, everything that you've chosen not to see, all of the shadow aspects of yourself that you have not dealt with, all of it, for every single person, every single system, every single thing is going to come up and be reborn again, because it's the great reset. We have to analyze these things. We have to look at our energy, and we have to look at our shadows. Oh man, my shadow I was not happy with my shadow, and that's another thing you have to learn to that last month as well. So we had then Mars squared Uranus in Taurus on, I think it was like the 9th or something, I believe, or maybe the 10th. And we were also dealing with Mercury retrograde. So Mars and Uranus squaring off just in Taurus is just anger meets fireball who wants to change in the sign that never changes. So you have like a rock that meets a hard place that's also stuck in glue. Like it's just not good. And then on top of it, Mercury retrograde completely stopping us from being able to communicate any of what we're feeling. Oh, and by the way, Mars is in Pisces, which means that the planet of action, drive, determination, it's the kick-ass energy that makes us go and do. It's the planet of war, and it is, all fight mentality, is stuck in the emotion ocean of Pisces and is feeling sorry for itself because it can't do anything. It's super debilitated in Pisces, which means that it's just feeling everything and feeling sorry for itself, and it's angry And then so your relationships are on fire because of Uranus squaring Mars, and you can't talk about what the actual problems are because Mercury retrograde has inhibited you from being able to express yourself effectively because you can't process anything right now because you're not supposed to. And then you have the Great Reset, which brings up just all your darkness all at once. And then it's all laid out on the table for us all to feel and deal with all the way up till we started to have a little bit of relief. It was the first stages of relief on the Scorpio full moon on the 23rd. Oh my god. It was the toughest month of this year, astrologically speaking. I mean, hands down. That is just some crazy madness on crack. I don't know what the hell that month was, but it was crazy. So, then we had to discover or awaken to our truths, whatever that meant. And that also means realizing, oh my god, my values have been like totally screwed from what I think I want or what I know I want now. And I have to make these really big epic changes. I have to realize, what does it mean to come back and be me again and sit back on my crown proper? Like, what the hell does that even look like? I thought I was on my throne and now I'm clearly not, and having to give back energy into myself again. So then we had real relief when Scorpio moon happened on the 23rd. That gave us the ability to start transforming and processing some of this energy. Then Mercury went direct on the 15th, and that really saved us because then all of the movement could start happening towards processing and starting to move through transformation. Whatever that looked like, at least it started to ease up on some of the intensity. And then we had May 1st happen. Mars went into Aries, so it wasn't in the emotion ocean anymore. Which I don't know how many of you guys noticed last month. We had major water issues. We had the boat that hit the bridge. We had issues with cruise liners and like overboard passengers and leaving people at docks and like all sorts of weird stuff was happening on the water. That's what you're going to experience when Mars is in Pisces because it doesn't want to be there. It's just not happy about it. So then we had Mars enter into Aries on May 1st, and that really changed the game. But the thing is all of us who are already 8, 9, 10 days into Taurus season are totally feeling like cows because Taurus's glyph is a bull, so we're all feeling very herded into this direction of suddenly there's openness all around us. We don't realize that the gates have come down. But we're suddenly now all cows, and we all want to eat everything in sight. We don't want to move. We're like, oh my god, there's all this energy and space and drive, and it's everything that I've been waiting for weeks and months now. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do that thing that I was going to do today. I do not.
Seems less appealing now.
Yeah. I would much rather abandon the diet that you've been working so hard on, and let's go eat cake. It is a complete
It's delicious.
It
says
is.
the cow.
Says the cow. It is so good. And meanwhile Venus is just like, oh yeah, let's do it. Let's make more food happen. Let's just laze around. It's been a little bit rough. So this first week of May we were dealing with having to look back at some parts of our life, having to have more introspection. We were probably, a lot of us out there, feeling more contemplative and getting the chance to really address some of our internal feelings. So you might have felt a little, more enclosed the first and maybe even into the second week of May. So there's a sense of, okay, we need to slow down up till the new moon on the 7th in Taurus, which really had you all baking your noodles on what your values are, on what matters most, on what do you need, on exactly what we're talking about. Where does critical energy need to go, and where does that lifeline need to be cut off? What do we need to do to redirect it in a better way from what we've been doing? And oh my god, have we looked at our finances lately? Oh, okay, we need to get that boat stop that boat from sinking because it is Queen Marying really fast. And that's not good. So we had all of that energy, and it's building up till today until The 21st, we have some major conjunctions happening. This is like once in a lifetime type of energy where we have the sun, we have Venus, we have Jupiter and Uranus all in conjunction in the sign of Taurus. And it's a once in a lifetime time, which is a perfect time for us to come back and give this another shot and try this again and really bring out the ideas that we've been having form and take shape over the last several weeks, especially over the last couple of years, trying to figure out what this is going to be. So we've been really excited to just kind of see how the rest of this month is going to go. I would say if you are interested, this is a perfect time to start manifesting what it is that you desire most, what it is that you want to create in your life, because this kind of conjunction can make anything happen. Anything is possible, but you have to decide to actively put the effort in to figure out what your values are, and then put your boundaries down, and then manifest the world that you want and then the reality that you want to step towards. So if if that's your thing, if you want to try it, if you need any help, we can also post some more tips on our Facebook page. We primarily post the articles and the things that we write on Facebook. If you're looking for more like, how I guess it would be like DIYs for restructuring your life, or like, personal growth and personal development, those are going to be mostly on Facebook. So that's a little bit of the astrology of what we've experienced, over the last couple of weeks, especially with last month. It's been really interesting. So whatever you encountered, let's say this, whatever you've encountered during the solar eclipse, whatever came up, whatever was brought to your attention, is going to continue to manifest over the next 2.5 years. So you're going to see all sorts of things in your life change. And if you were someone who specifically manifested during this time, you will see a lot of focused energy in where you may have been manifesting. So there's a lot of possibility that's out there in what you can create and, what you should create. I say if you've got something in mind, if there's something that you feel very strongly about, yet you just need someone or need something or need to have a sign, this is that sign to say, go do that thing, go start that project, go make that world happen for yourself, because there is energy in the air right now that can transform anything from the 15th to the 21st, 18th being the strongest. So go out there and make something real for yourselves. All right, what are we doing next as far as astrology goes? Anything you want to add, or are we? I can't remember what we do next after astrology.
Basically, I think the last thing I want to add to that is just that what she just explained makes contact.
Nobody hears my ringtone. You don't hear this, by the way.
Creation, I think we're.
Did it pause? Is it good?
I think it just kicked us off.
No way.
Wait, are we? Let's see. Hang on. That thing still says we're on, but it's TikTok.
Yeah.
Can you reconnect us to TikTok?
I can certainly try. It doesn't say that we're not on.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like I see comments going.
Okay.
So you just can't see it?
I cannot.
Shoot muffins. Yeah, I saw someone brought in someone had a comment.
Okay.
So you're just not seeing it on your end.
I will in a second, probably.
All right.
Facebook looks like it's glitching though. I'm not sure.
No.
But I'm getting hearts. So does that mean we're going on?
Oh, there we go.
I don't know.
I think it's good.
It's not showing me that we're okay. Well,
pesky devices. Something was in there.
I was just about to. I'm just gonna reload real quick.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but I definitely I remember Marky Hall Thompson.
Oh, absolutely.
She's here with us.
Hey, Marky.
And,
Glad you're here.
And I was just in the middle of typing a response to her, Um, Facebook's giving me the blue circle. I was just about to say, we are today's session has been about lessons that we've learned during the hiatus and about some really cool universal things that we learned, and we're discussing some astrological events that have happened recently that have affected us all, and we're here today to talk about those sorts of things. We're going to do a QA. Is that
Q&A?
Q&A? Is that going to be?
No, we're going to be doing live readings on Fridays.
That's what I was just going to say.
We're doing live readings on Fridays. Today is just about us coming back and, the news that we have to present to you guys at the end of this, because we do have a really exciting new announcement to make, especially for what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. So we're looking forward to that.
So yeah, where we're at now is we're in a Q&A. So if you have any questions, we're not going to draw any cards today, but if you have any questions about any of the things that you've encountered in your life, in terms of
The solar
eclipse, or about breaking down like structures in your life,
finding your truth.
We want to know about your experiences. So if you have any questions about anything like that, or you want to drop a little something that you want to share with us that we could dive into a little bit, just on maybe some advice, or look at it through the lens of any of these topics that we were talking about, we would love to do that.
Absolutely.
Because that's where we're at right now, which will give me a couple of seconds to figure out what's going on with Facebook here.
Yeah, so it's about sharing experiences. We're going to be doing this as kind of a new way of doing things. Usually we do readings, and that's all we have done before in the past. This time we're focusing more on creating a much more rounded platform to give you guys a whole lot more than we have ever before. But we will still be doing free readings, but those are going to be specifically on Fridays. So at this point, we are, just if you have any of these experiences, if you've had anything that has, kind of come and gone into your life, if you've been noticing in any of the patterns that we've been mentioning of astrology and how it's affected you. I mean, last month was just so treacherous when it came to relationships, because not only were you not really able to process for like a good chunk of the month, you weren't able to process the things that you were feeling. You weren't able to think about them very clearly. Instead, it was more just experiencing emotion and a really high level of volatility in any area of your life, and everybody was feeling it, just completely ramped up and so tense and so stressed, and it caused a lot of challenges, a lot of difficulties in our interpersonal relationships and our personal relationships. It made us really have to reevaluate our blind spots and take a closer look at the mirror and see where we've maybe imprisoned ourselves, and what we've been bound to lately, or what we perceive ourselves to being bound to. Having to really do a deep dive and either accept these new or existing parts of self or not. And I think that we're kind of seeing right now the cataclysm of both sides of the coin, of both people accepting the shift and of totally denying their own existence or their own experiences. And I think that definitely makes it a lot more challenging, when instead of allowing yourself just to emotionally process the things that you're experiencing, denying them, shoving them down, saying that they don't hold the same kind of merit as, say, the next thing. Like, the stupid thing that we say, like, I'll do some healing in the future, when I have time, when, like, this...
when life becomes more balanced.
When life becomes more balanced, I'll be more balanced. Like, it's the illusion of time that we put on ourselves, and we put this restraint on ourselves that, there's this construct that will allow us to eventually find happiness in the future. Like,
our dog's like, what?
Yeah. Even little Corgi Man says that's crazy. It's crazy town frolics. There's no way. How are we doing?
I think we're good.
Is it loading back
Weirdly
up?
enough, I mean, everybody says that we're visible on Facebook and it's our device is showing that we are, but it's not coming up on my computer. But I can see the comments, so that's good.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So looks
Alright.
like everything
Weird
is
energy.
still good.
Okay, well, glad that you guys are still with us through all the technical issues. It's been weird.
Grace said, this past week I've especially encountered extra emotion, headaches, and backaches.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling lost, and I've been hearing has to do with ascension.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I can't get out of hermit mode
Mm-hmm.
and isolation for the past month.
Yes, Grace, thank you for sharing that because
Yeah.
that is so true. Now, if you
Yeah,
have been feeling at
definitely.
all like how Grace has been feeling, I want to add to that too. So,
It's tiring. It's
um,
an exhausting feeling.
yeah, Lynx has been absolutely, completely drained. I've been pretty tired.
She's
But I'm just like
fine, but I've been waking up. And
mostly fine. And she's been just completely exhausted. Completely. And what's happening right now is we are going through a solar change. And we are seeing a what is it? It's no, I won't. We've been experiencing a lot of changes with the sun right now, and these solar flares that are happening have been pelting the earth so intensely. And usually it's pretty rare to get as many solar flares as we've been getting. And whenever a solar flare happens, it's basically like a crusty part on the sun has formed, and now enough pressure has farted that part of the sun out onto the earth. And so you're feeling totally drained. You're feeling depressed. This also happens when as we shift from the Great Awakening. It's energy that's pushing through right now that has to transform humanity, has to transform the world, which means it's just intense energy moving through us. And let's talk about realism here, is that it's going to get way more intense in August. We've had studies that show that these numbers are, back in 2019 of this particular solar system, this particular solar cycle, rather. Cycle 25 is going to have a lot of energy, and it could cause a lot of shifts in how we feel. This is not to hold fear over it, right? That's what we're doing right now, is we're canceling out the fear. We don't want to dwell on the fear. That's only going to make things worse. But if we can prepare ourselves, that is an entirely different approach to how we can respond and how we can handle what's happening. So if you're feeling drained, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling extremely confused, if you're feeling unsure or lost within what you're doing, if you don't even feel like you right now, then you are exactly where you need to be. Isn't that crazy? At the same time, it's beautiful, because oh my gosh, that means that we don't have to worry about it. Okay, that means that the emotional reactivity, we can shut that down. It is a switch. We can turn it off. We don't have to feel that emotional reactivity. We can just decide that what we are experiencing is what we will have always been meant to experience, because it was always going to happen. We always knew this was going to happen. We always knew, these changes were going to take place. And we know this because we decided, if you're here, you decided to put on a meat suit. You're a spiritual being having a human experience right now. And that means that you signed up to the terms and conditions of what it meant to be a human or a spiritual being having a human experience, and the difficulties, the obstacles, the pain of being human. And then also that you decided to be here now, which means that you chose to be here during a time of massive transformation, of huge movement in a different direction other than maybe where you've been. So it means that you decided as well to be here during a time of major frequency changes. You may have decided to ascend at this moment, to change and rise and level up your frequency in order to also help change the vibration of the planet. So, if you start looking at these from bigger, more observant points of view, you can really take out the fear, the emotionality, the concern, the worry, and you can better just focus on, okay, This is all supposed to happen. Whew, okay, whew, big breath. All right, I am way less freaked out than I was. I don't have to, I don't have to give in to the feeling of hopelessness because that's not what this is. Instead, what can I be doing to help myself through these experiences? What can I do to help myself? All right, well, I can do an emotional check-in. All right, how am I feeling? Well, the energy right now is telling me that I should be feeling more lazy, or I should be feeling more depressed, or I should be, feeling lost. Okay, all right. Well, let's look at the silver linings of what's happening in the situation. Let's look at the positives of what's happening too. If we're going to also dwell on the negative, we have to decide to willfully look at the positive. And that's where we're going to start seeing some major changes. When we start to force ourselves to make our brains be nicer to us, because they're automatically programmed to be not very cool. When we start making active changes to restructure how we respond to ourselves, we really have a greater chance of growth, and we start seeing things happen that we've been working towards, that we've been pushing forward towards.
Grace just said it really well. She said, is it that we're at a point where we can't control the situation, and when we can't control the situation, the changes happen?
Yes, yes.
Literally.
Being squeezed into it. There's no way around it. Nobody on earth can avoid it. There is no, there is no pushing a button or just avoiding it this time. Absolutely. We're all faced with this inevitable, a gate that we're getting, pushed through. We got to push through it. So to say that is to also bring up that this is energy that's going to continue to increase. And it is going to increase, intensify, for August of this year, and intensify in a pretty big way. We'll see a lot of big changes. Might see some internet go down. It's a good idea to get water, extra food, money on hand, things like that, because that's a very strong possibility of wherever the sun decides to do its thing at. Could see some pretty devastating results. We're already kind of seeing a lot of weather issues that are just totally unusual, and that has a lot to do with sun cycle 25. So we can be prepared, we can just be pragmatic, and we can make the choices to, maybe pick up some more supplies, get some more things on hand, and have a sense of, not having to worry about the things that could happen. And if they don't, then great, then we got some extra supplies. Rock on. Doesn't hurt to be prepared. But in that sense, it will intensify. It is something that we are going to have to understand, that this is just going to keep moving and keep happening and keep pushing through us. And the more that we stop resisting and just allow for the flow of things to do what they will, the easier these obstacles become to climb. And the more that you give yourself the opportunity to look at these situations from an observant point of view, and then you get to have more tools in the toolbox to be able to climb that wall that's in front of you. Because if you don't, and you just go with all your emotions at it, then you're just going to smack yourself into the wall and knock yourself out, and that's not going to really help you or the wall or anything else around you. So it definitely does mean looking at this from a more courageous point of view, seeing it as okay, all right, then if I was supposed to be here at this time, if I chose to be here, and I was supposed to be here during this moment, then that also means that I can choose a different path rather than fear, and I can be super courageous and brave and go at this thing let's do this. Let's tear all these things out. Let's get rid of, if this is a purging time, what all about myself can I purge? What are all the things in my life that I don't need anymore? This is a really great opportunity. Oh my God. And this also means that I can really figure out what my authentic self means and what that person looks like. Fuck yeah. I'm so stoked. Let's do it. Let's rock. Let's have bravery and strength for the change, because this change is however big you allow it to be. It's however you make the most of this time to be. So it's really up to you how much of you changes. So the more kick-ass, go towards the energy that you can muster up for this situation or this time change, the better off that you will be. The more forgiveness that you can have, the more gratitude that you can share and show, the more you leave the third dimension, which is all negative, heavy, intense, you know, really in those mental caves types of energy, and then you elevate yourself to the fifth dimension where there's more peace, there's forgiveness, there's acceptance, there's love. And that is where we're moving towards. That's this big ascension. That's the giant reset button, is, you know, getting the opportunity to let go of the dimension that has been holding us back for a very long time now and step into something new. Which is something that's
fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see it as fun. You know what? It's kind of like, I look at all these obstacles like as if I'm actually playing a video game. Because, you know, if I'm a spiritual being, if I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, then that's what this meat suit pretty much is, right? So that's what I can do. I can look at these obstacles like if I were to try to be beating that boss in the last level of the game that I can't seem to get around. Well, the only way to get around that boss, like getting around that obstacle, is to learn more about it, is to understand it differently, is to look at it from a different perspective, and maybe not be emotional towards it, but take a step back and go, all right, if I go left, he goes left. But if I go right and quickly dodge move around that boulder, maybe I can get around it. So it's just about seeing things from a different perspective and allowing myself to just kind of look at these obstacles that come as like, oh, this is so cool, because once I get past this boss, I get to level up, and that means I get a new skill point. I learned something new, and I can apply that to many other areas of my life, which is just gonna rock. I love having skills. Right on. So that's my whole video game thing. I just love looking at it like, all right, challenge accepted. Beast mode turned on. Let's go get that achievement.
It's a fun way to think about it. Grace said, how do you know which dimension you are in when it comes to third, fourth, and fifth?
I would say it's definitely a feeling. I would say that there are going to be certain parts of you, like if you like to dwell, like this is like a real life thing. I've noticed this. If you like to dwell, or if you find yourself in a place where you're dwelling more on negative content, on like more negative things that you're bringing in, like even just watching repetition, if you have a lot of repetition in areas of content that you're consuming that are more about murder, that are more about death, that are more about the ending of things, and you kind of have this fixation on these more darker frequencies, then you may have a bit of your foot stuck in that third dimension, where you're kind of holding on to these more negative, more painful aspects of humanity. When you are finding that you are in a place where you're looking around you with much more acceptance of maybe past thoughts or beliefs, or behavioral patterns that once held true for you or were once valuable to you, and you're looking at those structures and you're going, I no longer feel that way, I have forgiveness towards those people or this situation or things like that, then you've started to rise up out of it. You're starting to see, the fifth dimension, whereas like in the fourth dimension, it's more like processing all of these things and having that process acceptance, realization, process acceptance, realization, process acceptance. And it's kind of this ability to feel yourself changing, seeing yourself being more of the observer, seeing yourself looking at your own self-awareness in maybe a more profound way than you did before. And that allows for so many other things to start to fly open for you, that it does lead to that gratitude, and that thankfulness is from a place of acceptance and understanding. So you may not be there in all different areas of your life, but you're starting to feel a tug, starting to feel a pull, and that pull is you getting changed, is you getting elevated, is you starting to rise into a different dimension of your awareness. So it does feel really weird, and it does kind of feel scary, but when you start to let go of the things that really aren't doing it for you anymore, and you move towards what feels good, then you are starting to take more poignant action towards your own self-awareness and your own happiness overall. So it does make you feel like you're going crazy. Totally does. It makes you wonder if you're schizophrenic even. I've heard that from a few people, feeling like they're schizophrenic. Suddenly they're hearing a voice in their head. Maybe this voice is louder than their brain has been, you know, and so their inner voice, their higher self, is speaking to them. Their intuition is calling to them, but they feel crazy. They feel out of control. What do I do? This voice I've never heard is very loud in my head now, and I think I'm going nuts. No, that's just you as a spiritual being realizing that you're in a meat suit, and your meat suit brain, your human experience, is freaking out because it has no idea how to communicate to your higher self because it's done a really great job of blocking it out for as long as it has. So now you've got all this sound going on in your head, and the only way to process it is to allow yourself to feel it, to examine it, to look at it without judgment. By the way, that is a big one. Looking at it without coming from a place of judgment over what you feel, over what you experience, and over what it leaves you feeling. So if you give yourself the opportunity to go at this thing without any judgment, then you allow yourself to really fully examine all these different aspects of you that are changing. Yeah.
Hey, you actually kind of like, you basically halfway explained, like, everything that you just said can be applied to the next question.
Oh.
But I don't know how to pronounce her name. Feline?
Hi, Feline.
How do I stop pain from divorce?
You don't. You feel it. You allow yourself to feel it. I'm right there with you, in the same boat, the same big D boat going down big damn river. And the only way to go through it is to feel it, is to fully, by the way, accept your role, your mistakes made, okay, but also to stand your ground and to stand up for what isn't right and for what is true. So it's about accepting that some of it's going to hurt worse than ever, but at the end of the day, what you win, what you take away from this at the end of it, no matter what happens, is freedom from the situation. And the only way through that pain is to feel it. You can't run from it. You cannot avoid it. You can't push it away, especially if you're feeling it now, especially if that's happened after the solar eclipse. It is your path. You are going to become resilient and extremely strong for it. I would say if you're feeling at all concerned for yourself through it, get yourself some assertiveness books. Get yourself some books on audiobooks on how to become more assertive, on giving yourself that upper edge so you can process the gravity of what you're feeling better, and also be able to stand up for yourself on what needs to be, coming back into balance. When we're talking about like the Six of Pentacles again, we're talking about where am I putting energy and where do I need to put more energy, and where is energy going in the wrong direction. And this is really that type of card to say, look, we're putting energy everywhere right now. We need to have an even more balanced perspective of where it should be going, because it's been going everywhere else. So this is that moment that you give yourself more tools in the toolbox. You give yourself the upper hand. You give yourself, the new AI legal assistants that have come out. You give yourself all the things that you need, to prepare yourself for more. And that allows for change. That allows for growth. That allows for all sorts of newness to come in. And it does mean you can't avoid fear, and you can't avoid pain. You have to face them head on. Those two are nasty teachers, but the only way to get rid of them is to fully accept and embrace all parts of it, and allow forgiveness in for whatever the situation may be, however horrible. It's still your best route. It allows you to no longer hurt over what was done to you. So you start taking steps towards that, and you just prepare. Just prepare. That's I would say probably the best thing you can do. Is it getting too dark in here?
Yeah, well, I would say that's about the last question. I think now would be a good time for us to let everybody know what we've got in store for the future.
The future. All right, so on Friday, we are going to be, of course, bringing you guys back at the same time as today. Hopefully, it's actually at 3 o'clock, not 3 o'clock, p.m. There we go. I can speak. Pacific and 6 p.m. Eastern. So that's the hope for Friday. We're going to bring you live free readings. We're going to talk about all sorts of things, and we're also going to go more in depth about this next thing I'm going to mention, which is that this is going to become a continually regular segment that we do. Starting next week, we will be starting on Sunday, we will reveal to you guys more of the absolute specifics of what we're talking about, but we are starting an all-new channel called Wokish, which has everything you need to get you through the week, and it will be taking place Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, probably still at 3 o'clock, I'd say. We haven't officially decided on the time yet, so we'll release that on Sunday for surezies, realsies, and let you guys all know what all that's going to mean, because it's going to be really exciting. I'm so excited. We've been working on this for years now, and it really all just came together in the last couple of weeks of really figuring out what this is going to mean. So we're going to bring you some pretty intense, specifically focused and detailed energy work and real life emotional weather navigating through each of your weeks ahead. So I'm going to leave it at that, but we are definitely excited about the live, which will be next on Friday, the 17th, right? It's the 17th. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the 17th on all these platforms again: YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. And if you are at all interested, right now, like I was talking about before, there is this just absolutely life-altering, once-in-a-lifetime, we're probably only going to see this in our lives, alignment coming up on the 18th. And it's already started to take place today. It's strongest on the 18th. I have a candle sale. If anyone is interested, they're $44. And you can help manifest and put focused intention and energy in whatever direction you want it most in. So if you're interested, let us know. You can hit us up at Tarot with Lyra Moon on our website, tarotwithlyramoon.com, or Facebook as well, Tarot with Lyra Moon, and get one of those. I also have a treasure map reading that has been the coolest, most
really cool.
Oh my god, most insightful reading I have ever done, and I'm very proud of it. It's only going to remain $44 at this point for a little bit while longer. I'd say probably definitely not gonna be the same price for forever. So if you're interested in solving a complex problem in a very unique way, let me know, because I'd be happy to help you with those as well. They have been incredible, and my clients have just absolutely loved them so far. If you're looking for a private reading, you can always hit me up too. We also do private readings and all sorts of other energy work. So we are just so excited. We're so excited. We're so grateful that you guys were all here today. We're so glad. Welcome if you are new. Welcome back if you're existing. We're so grateful. We cannot wait to show you guys all what we have, and we're just thankful that you guys hung out and stuck it through the hiatus, because now we can really get this party started, and it's going to just be I really feel that this is going to be life-changing, and that it I'm just so excited. I could cry over it. It's just I'm really happy. That's my point. So that's going to be I think about it. Please make sure to like and follow and subscribe. These are going to become regular intervals, and we're going to bring you guys so many amazing things that we are going to share with you coming up soon. So we'll see you guys all back here.
Wait, there's one thing though.
What thing?
I forgot. I can't see who's still in the room on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
But I forgot. there was one thing that Danielle Brewer brought up that
Oh, Danielle.
that was actually originally kind of on the agenda for something we were going to talk about anyway, and she brought it up. So just sorry to
What's up?
To rewind.
Yeah, rewind, Danielle. What's up, Danielle?
Yeah, she said, I get so, and this is something, this topic specifically. We'll only touch on it for a minute because we're gonna sign off here in a second. But this is a topic that I wanted to spend more time on in the future because it rings true to us. Danielle said, I get so hopeless and upset when I can't just get in the car and just go where I want to, or where I want to go, and I feel like a burden to my husband because he has to drive me everywhere.
Danielle and I met at Leader Dogs for the Blind.
Oh snap! So
Yeah.
we definitely
Get it
then.
Yeah,
Okay.
actually, Danielle, it's so bananas to me that you're talking about this because this was literally one of the first concept ideas that I had for today's show. Is we were gonna dive into transportation issues because that has been half of the battle. So, girl, don't feel like a burden, but it is something that you have to talk to him about, right? It is something that there needs to be open and clear communication on because if there's tension, if there's weirdness, you got to recognize that, part of that is being visually impaired. There's not a whole lot that we can do about it, but we can have strength in it. We don't have to feel weakened by it. I remember feeling like a burden a handful of times in different relationships because I couldn't, drive myself here or do, just it wasn't a normal type of transportation for me. So there's a handful of times of just feeling, completely crappy about not being able to, to drive and be that person. And it really came down to understanding that, you know what, that's not what I'm supposed to do in this life, not this time around, and that's okay. Instead, what can I do? What can I focus on? What can I put, positive energy into? And I can put positive energy into this, and I can turn off the alarm for the phone that is alarming. Ay, all these alarms, they go. There we go. I can decide that I am, that I have self-worth, but it also does come down to making sure that resentment doesn't build in our relationship. So the number one thing that I would recommend for you is I'd write down what my values are and what matters most to me, but more specifically, I would have that conversation with your husband. I would talk to him about how you feel about the situation and ask him how he feels about the situation, and then work towards looking at solutions. Well, what can we do to improve this situation? What can we do to maybe ease the burden or ease the feeling of being a burden? What can we do about that? How can we improve in those areas? So there's a need to kind of look at this from a different point of view, right? We're not a burden, and there's a need to look at what we can create, what we are here for, rather than what we are feeling stuck on and what we don't have, what we can't change. We can't change those things. We can't change, the lack of sight. We can't change the fact that we should not be on the road driving. We can't change those things. But what we can do are plenty of other things in the world, plenty of other things that we can give back, plenty of other things that we can explore and experience with our people, which is why they love us, Yeah. You love me. Yeah. So there's just a different way of looking at it. But if we're looking at it from the point of view of past, then there is still stuff that needs to be brought up. There is still some clear communication that needs to be had between the two of you so that you can start working through this more together, because that is not a fun place to be, and then it's a weird communication thing, and then you feel unsure about talking about it, they feel unsure about talking about it, and then not a whole lot grows and changes there. So give yourself the opportunity to do something different and talk about this from a clear point of view and see how the energy changes from there. All right.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Lexton Black said, love this session, very thought-provoking and insightful.
Thank you, Lexton. Glad that you're here. That's awesome.
And Grace said, I love this. This is great. Can't wait to be there. Just going a little bit. Great work, ladies.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Grace. We are looking forward to seeing you guys all back here on Friday. And don't forget to hit the notification bell
All
so
right.
you don't miss the alert for when that happens.
All right. Let's start the process of turning off all of these cameras.
Yes, 1, 2, and 3. You get to watch us turn off cameras. I know that's exciting for you.
We had a button, but the button doesn't
Yeah,
work.
button doesn't work. Like, let's look at that. Where's that
We
button?
tried. We
I
tried to
tried the
have
button.
forethought.
No button for me. No button for you. Button. Who's got the button?
Bye,
All right, guys.
guys.
Thank you
Thank
so
for
much.
being
You are
here.
amazing. Now you get to enjoy watching us turn off the cameras. Ah, la, 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 la.
How does this one stop?
What do I do over here?